Welcome to our sacred stillness meditation in the third space. And you are very welcome. Glad you could join us. We are approaching the winter solstice. So for us who are here doing the meditation live, it's very dark outside. And I just want to say it's always an honor if you feel safe enough to go to sleep. So please feel free to do that tonight if that's what you need to do, if that's what your body needs to do. Tonight, I want to focus. I've been thinking about this for the last couple of weeks, and I want to focus on the idea of holding space. And it's a bit of a new phrase that comes up in different places, in different contexts. And I've been thinking about what that means for me as an individual and collectively, but also in wanting to become aware of the presence of God. You know, even though it's a modern kind of term, the term holding space, there are different stories that are told in the ancient texts that really allude to the same principle of being still, of becoming aware. And I want to just quickly tell the story of the prophet Elijah. And many of us will know the story of Elijah going into the wilderness and spending time in a cave. And in that sense, that cave was a space, a holding space, a space of where he was present, I guess. And the interesting thing was that for him in that time, he was holding space for himself mostly. And his encounter with God was not in the wind, was not in the earthquake, and it wasn't in the fire. It wasn't in the noise, if you like. And in many translations of those words, the presence of God is manifest in a still small voice. But when you look at the Hebrew and the original text, I guess, and you know, those words more literally can mean the sound of thin silence. And the silence itself and the thin silence became the meeting place. And sometimes the greatest gift that we can offer ourselves and offer one another is not our words, but we can hold space for one another and offer our capacity to remain present here in the present moment until the whisper of God becomes audible in our hearts. So let's begin to create that space within ourselves, in our bodies. And we are creating that space collectively because we're gathered here collectively. And let's begin to make space in sacred stillness. So beginning to just become aware of our breathing. Noticing where the breath is flowing. Noticing our rhythm or lack of rhythm. And beginning to notice our bodies. So we're creating a space physically around us, physically in our bodies, beginning to create space within our mind and our imagination, in our hearts, allowing our mind to settle and come to a place of quietness. Just creating and then holding space within the place of our thoughts. So beginning to notice the thoughts that are entering into our awareness, noticing the tone of the inner voice, of our own inner voice. Reminding ourselves that there are no shoulds. Letting go of the shoulds. Letting go of the language of I should be able to do this, I shouldn't think about that. And observing our thoughts in whatever way works for us. Maybe just hearing them, hearing the words as they pass through our mind, through our conscious awareness. And just letting them drift. Perhaps imagining them as clouds is useful for you. Or maybe a song. Or maybe words on a screen at the back of our eyes. Whatever way that we become aware of our thoughts. Allowing them to become quiet. Letting them drift and creating some space within our awareness. And for now, we're going to use that space in our awareness to become aware of our bodies. The address of our soul. This home for our being. And as we sit in this time, we begin to notice the flow of gravity. The gravity over our bodies. The gravity that is because of where we are in our solar system, where our moon is, where our sun is. This place of our existence, in this place we experience gravity. We feel it flowing down over our heads, over our forehead and around our eyes. And all the micro muscles that are pressing up against the gravity, that are holding tension. The bridge of our nose, the skin over our cheeks, the joints of our jaw and our chin. And we just allow ourselves to become aware of the gravity flowing. And with each breath out, we just release, yielding to that flow, letting go. Our mouth, our chin, and even our tongue. Releasing. Allowing our attention now to be drawn to the back of our head and our neck. In this particular space, we often hold. We're often pressing up against the world, against our situations, against the flow of gravity, against the loving arms of our God. We take a deep breath in through our nose, down our throat, deep into our belly. Really big, deep breath. Expanding our chest. And then we release, blowing the air out and releasing our shoulders as we go. Letting go. And again, breathing in, feeling our shoulders rise with the breath in, feeling our chest rise, and we hold, and then when we're ready, we just release. Whew. We have the freedom and the permission to take up space. This space. We hold this time open for our bodies to come into sacred stillness. Drawing our awareness now back to the gravity, the flow over our chest and down our shoulders to our arms and our hands. These hands in which we use to engage the world. In this time, we let them be still. We allow them to feel heavy. Just becoming aware of them, having an attitude of gratefulness in our hearts for the work of our hands. We use them so often for our communication. But right now, we are silent. Sitting in stillness. The flow of gravity now over our bellies and our pelvis and our legs, our sit bones. Can we allow ourselves to sink into the depth of the chair or the floor or the bed or the ground? Sinking deeply into quietness. Offering our bodies that. Holding space for our bodies. Holding space for our mind. And now holding space for our heart, feeling what we feel in this moment. Not resisting, not pushing away, but just accepting, acknowledging whatever it is that we're experiencing, not just in this moment, but maybe in this day or in this season of our life. Maybe it's helpful to imagine holding our own heart in our hands gently, creating a space in every element of our being, honoring our choice to be still, honoring the choice to create this space and hold it open. And we do this for it has inherent value all in its own way. But we do this also that we would still ourselves enough to hear that still small voice, to hear the sound of thin silence, to hear the whisper of God. We sit together to collectively sharing this sacred space, and we sit together in silence now, allowing the sound of the thin space and silence to rise up within us, speaking to us in whatever way it chooses. Allowing our awareness to move from our thought consciousness down down to our spirit consciousness, the place of our heart, of our intuition, and of our inner knowing. The place of remembering. In whose image I am made. And in whose likeness I am becoming. Holding open the time, holding open the space, sensing that we are loved with an everlasting love, a love that has no end. When we notice the space has closed in a little, perhaps we draw in a deep breath and open up the space again in our lungs, in our body, in our mind, in our heart. Perhaps imagining the vastness of the ocean, the vastness of the stars in the sky, the sky holding space for the light to come. Reaching through the darkness. Speaking to me, speaking to you, speaking to all of us. Of the one who made us all. We are holding space for ourselves. We are holding space together. We can continue to hold that space open within ourselves for the sound of the thin silence. Slowly and gently begin to draw our attention back to our breath. The breath of life and the life breath flowing into our bodies, into the very core of our being, into the space of our being. We feel the flow of air in through our nose, down our throat, deep into our bodies. Every breath nourishing this body, this address of our soul. The current space of our being. We breathe in and out and in. Whew. Releasing any remaining tension, letting go of any anxious thoughts. And allowing, as we breathe, the smile to come up, the joy to come up and express itself on the space that is our face. Smiling. Breathing out and releasing, breathing in and receiving. Allowing our conscious awareness now to begin to bubble up, if we so choose. Or maybe not, maybe just slipping into the quiet place of sleep or rest. Whatever feels right for you in this moment. Be at peace, my friends. Shalom.